Okay, so you probably heard of the drama between Cameron Winklevoss and Barry Silbert, founder and CEO of DCG, but you might not know exactly what's going on. Essentially, DCG, Digital Currency Group, is one of the largest holding companies in the entire cryptocurrency space. They own a number of companies that you might know. One of the biggest that you'd probably be familiar with is none other than CoinDesk, the single largest publication in the entire cryptocurrency space. They also own someone named Genesis, a company named Genesis. And you may have also heard that about 4 days ago, they announced that they're going to be laying off 30% of their workforce to stave off bankruptcy. Now, this is where Cameron Winklevoss came in. About a week ago, Cameron Winklevoss, one of the two Winklevoss brothers, that would be the brothers that were in the movie about Facebook. I'm blanking on whatever it's called right now, but they were the ones with Mark Zuckerberg that originally kind of created Facebook. They ended up suing Mark Zuckerberg, getting a ton of money. They went off and founded an exchange called Gemini. Gemini has an earn program that was giving out 8% APY, and that earn program on Gemini was called Gemini Earn. Gemini Earn has been offline ever since FTX went down, even though Gemini had absolutely no exposure to FTX. The problem is Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss own Gemini. Gemini was borrowing money from Genesis Capital, which is owned by DCG. They were borrowing the money they were borrowing the money from Gemini, and then they were loaning it out to institutional buyers and lenders, and then returning an 8% loan, 8% APY to Gemini so the Gemini users could make money from there. The problem is Genesis owes DCG and Barry Silbert's company $1.67 billion in the form of a $1.1 billion promissory note, which was given to Three Arrows Capital, if you remember that name, to try and help bail them out. And they also owe DCG themselves $675 million. The problem is they also owe Gemini $900 million. So Genesis is in a very tricky position right now because they also own a lot of Bitcoin, hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin is very, very, very low in price right now. So they don't have the ability to just liquidate their Bitcoin and then pay back all these loans. They don't have the ability to pay back Barry Silbert's DCG on the money that they owe quickly. Now, allegedly, according to Barry Silbert, they're making all of their payments on time. Whether that's true or not is up for debate. But Cameron Winklevoss basically says that Genesis has not returned any of their money since Genesis paused all of their loan originations and redemptions. Gemini needs money back from Genesis so that Gemini can pay its users. If you're on Gemini and you have money in their earn program, you can't get it right now because Gemini isn't holding the money. Genesis is. Why can't Genesis pay them back? A couple of very simple reasons. Number one, they owe their parent company, DCG, a lot of money, and DCG doesn't have it because all of their businesses are making a lot less money right now than they used to, and the assets that they held in Genesis are far less valuable. Number two, they had $175 million on FTX. Genesis did. So now Gemini is threatening them with legal action, and Genesis could potentially end up going bankrupt because they don't have enough money to pay back DCG or Gemini, and all of the creditors could start coming for them if they can't get the money back soon. The reason that that's a problem is because they own over 100,000 Bitcoin. And if they go bankrupt, you can bet your bottom Satoshi that you're going to see a lot of that get dumped on the market to cover all of those holes in their accounting so that they're able to pay back the people that want their money. If the DCG empire collapses, it takes more than likely, because according to Cameron Winklevoss, they're all commingled, which is criminal if that's true. That brings CoinDesk down. That brings DCG down, that brings Genesis down, and it might even bring down the Gemini Earn program and mean that the FTX contagion, which left a $200 million hole inside of Genesis's accounting, it could spread even farther. And if it does, you're watching Bitcoin drop to $12,000, if not even lower. Hopefully that won't happen. Time will tell if Genesis can stave off bankruptcy. Like I said, they did just lay off 30% of their workforce. That accounts to about 60 positions. The problem is with it only being that many jobs, probably won't help a whole lot because ultimately Genesis has a lot more money than it does payroll. It's not one of those companies where the vast majority of its size comes from payroll. The vast majority of its size comes from its assets under management. So you can lay off all the people you want, but that's really not going to make much of a difference, which makes you wonder if they're laying off people because they're trying to stave off bankruptcy. Is that the last card they have to play? Is the DCG empire about to implode on itself? We shall see. Love to hear your thoughts on that in the comment section down below. Can DCG survive? Is CoinDesk going to get taken down with them if something happens to Genesis and DCG? And will the Gemini Earn program ever come back? Will people ever get their money back? Some of these looming questions are the reason why Bitcoin is still as low as it is, and you're going to have a very difficult time going into a major market movement to the upside if you cannot answer some of these questions in the affirmative or answer some of them in a negative way, but give time for the market to recover. All right. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.